Hi guys, it's Andy from NismoTech, and in this video I'm going to be doing an unboxing and giving you my thoughts on the ID Cooling T60-SFX mini gaming case. It's kindly sent over to us via ID Cooling. It's got quite a unique design to the actual case itself. It's made purely from aluminium. It's a very compact design, ITX motherboard, SFX power supply, VGA card supported, and it's been designed for gamers. So let's just see, take a look around, a little bit of blurb on that side. Moving on to this side here, we've got a little bit of information about the specifications. So overall dimensions 328 by 251 by 160 millimeters, weighing in at 3 kilo, aluminium alloy. It comes with two side panels. You've got an option for hard drive SSD rack, case body and parts obviously included. Compatibility, which is probably going to be one of the most important things about this particular case. Like I said, it's mini ITX. You can fit a dual slot VGA card up to 263 millimeters. You have got an option to install a 3.5 and two 2.5 inch drives. So you've got two SSDs and a normal hard drive. Power supply, micro ATX or SFX. And the CPU cooler maximum height is 125 millimeters, and it comes with a 92 millimeter fan pre-installed at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the box, and we can have a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so I've managed to get the T60-SFX out of the box, packaged extremely well. Let's take a look around and see what this has to offer. As you see, it's a very different design in terms of a mini ITX case, in the way that it actually looks. There's no optical bay, made completely from aluminium. As you can see, the back of the actual case there. So starting off with the front, so we've got quite nice angles on the front of the actual case. ID Cooling logo. We've got an ID Cooling badge as the power supply. No reset button, no audio input or output, two USB 3 up along the top, but that's as far as it will go. First impressions, probably would have been quite nice to have obviously your microphone and your headphone jack in along the top there. There's definitely enough room for that to happen. Personally, I think I would have preferred to see that. Down at the bottom here, obviously you have got some ventilation down at the bottom. And as you can see, on both sides, you've got ventilation down the front, on the side, and also down the bottom here on both sides. The panels are identical, so for argument's sake, if you do scratch this, you can obviously replace it and put it on the other side of the case, and it won't be that much of a issue. 92 millimeter fan installed at the back, room for two dual slot graphics card on there as well. So you've got your IO cutout on there as well. I'm just going to show you the bottom, and as you can see, there's a lot of ventilation down at the bottom, which is really good to see. The feet are actually really quite nice. They're actually chrome feet with rubber tips on the bottom, so it's not going to stand and sort of damage your desk, but adds a nice element to the design. There's no filter at the bottom, and in my opinion there needs to be a filter at the bottom. Your power supply is actually mounted around about here actually, but it just would be very beneficial, especially with your graphics card going down there as well. A filter, I don't see why they haven't actually included that. There are a couple other things that I've noticed as well, but I'll come on to that in a moment. But yeah, apart from that, it's a very nice, clean, attractive looking case. Very different in its design. I have seen a couple of people mention about a handle going on top, which it depends obviously on what your use would be, but certainly to a LAN event that seems pretty good. Also fingerprints, as you can see, rub out very nicely and easily. So very unusual design. As far as I'm aware, it does come with a red exterior, an all black finish, and also an orange exterior, as well as obviously the silver version. So you've got a couple of options on there. The red version I actually think looks really nice, especially it being brushed aluminium. So getting it into the side panel is quite simple. We've got these screws. Just try and take this off a moment for you and do it quickly enough. It was a little bit tougher. Almost there. Okay, so that's the side panels off. Let's bring this in. Hopefully you can see kind of how thick that is. It's very, very strong indeed. Yeah, really, really nicely machined. Looking really good. So on the inside, first thing that you're going to notice is this bracket along the top. Room here to install 2 SSDs. Potentially, they could have made it so it moved up a little bit and you could have had a 3rd SSD, but essentially 2 is probably more ample than what you need. Now, so as you can see, sort of peering in to there, obviously the light isn't very good, but I'll show you in a moment what I mean. But with this panel here, it would have been nice to see it moved over a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and uninstall this side, because there's one thing that is distinctively, if I can get the side panel off, distinctively lacking on this particular case, and I'm not quite sure as to why, because there is enough room there for it, and in my opinion the aluminium seems to be thick enough and also strong enough to allow for this to happen. I'll get these off as quickly as I can. There we go. And obviously, like I said, the panels, you can obviously interchange them and put them on that side. However, you'll notice that there is no CPU cutout. I think the case is strong enough, in my opinion, for there to be a CPU cutout on there. Obviously, it doesn't make too much of a difference, but certainly would make life a lot easier to be able to go and change the CPU cooler as and when you feel the need for it. And also on this side you can see the mounting there for the power supply. So I'm going to go and remove the other bits, change the camera angle, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so as you can see, we've now got the motherboard installed inside the case, and as you've also probably noticed, I've taken off the SSD bracket. There's a little bit of aluminium at the top here which keeps it all in line, and if you were to install a SSD, that is essentially what you're going to be looking at underneath there. So 2 screws at the top, 2 screws at the bottom here as well. So 4 screws to take that out. Very simple, very easy. This one here for the 3.5-inch bay. I'm trying to zoom in down there. You've got a screw there, one up here, and the same down on that side as well. So again, they're relatively quite simple to actually remove out. It would be nice to actually have the ability to install SSDs up here out of the factory. I know that you can buy adapters, or if you wanted, you can probably just screw them in on the side. But I think they potentially missed a little trick there, in the fact that a lot of people may not want to actually install your SSDs along here to give you a little bit further height in terms of your CPU cooler, and to be able to put your SSDs up at the top here. You never know, they might bring out a revised version of this case and obviously make that as an option. Next thing to point out, coming up from the front, you have got LED indicators, you've got your power switch, etc. There are LEDs on the front on that badge logo. You've got a nice short USB 3 cable as well, which is good to see, because sometimes they do make them extremely long. And then also you've got your pass-through for your power supply. Now, one thing that I haven't got is a Modular SFX power supply. Just got this one from Be Quiet, and also it's got all the cables on there. So do make sure you invest in a modular version. So plug it in, make sure it's switched on, and you can obviously then go, if I don't catch my microphone in the cable, and very much easily plonk that down and screw it in from the other side. If I just cable manage that slightly better, get the cable out of the way, stick that down there, and there you go. That's the actual power supply installed, essentially without obviously screwing it in. But you can see the amount of room that you've actually got down there, so it's not too bad at all. There's definitely enough room to sort of deal with, and obviously, like I said, if you go for the modular version of a SFX power supply, I think Silverstone do them, then obviously you're going to be pretty well suited in there. Installation is from the other side. I'll show that to you in a moment. The fan is obviously going to be sucking hot air from your system out and exhausting it out of the side where the vents are along the side. You can turn it around if you wanted to, but you're going to be literally only a couple of mil amount of room to exhaust the heat, which is obviously not a very good idea. So yeah, you are very, very much limited in terms of the power supply, and you're very limited in terms of the cooler. Maximum, I think it's 126 millimeters in height for the actual CPU cooler, and as we've already mentioned, 263 millimeters for the graphics card. That's not a great deal, so you're definitely not going to be fitting in a 980 Ti or anything like that. Probably looking at a GTX 770 or a 270X or something like that, which is going to be ideal for 1080p gaming. But anything sort of higher than that, you are going to struggle. Even if we were to go for like an R9 Nano, you've got nowhere to actually install the all-in-one side of things with that. There is obviously quite a bit of room, as you can see, for your graphics card, and obviously you've got a lot of ventilation down here as well. The only thing I'd like to have seen is obviously a filter on that side, so that obviously you're not going to be pulling dust in or creating dust on the inside of the system. But I do like the fact that you've got quite a lot of room. Unfortunately, the cards that I have are all extremely long, so they're not gonna, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate that to you actually installing it. You have got a bit of a ridge here, so essentially you might be kind of up to that point there in terms of your graphics card. But the way it's actually laid out, I think it's actually really quite cool. I do like the layout. I see the fact that instead of it being off flat that you do sometimes see, there is a bit of an angle, so it does create a bit more room, especially between the power supply and the graphics card down here. In terms of your memory, you're not going to have any issues in terms of clearance. Also, as you can see, I can kind of fit my hand between the motherboard and the 3.5-inch bay area. You can remove that as well to give you a bit more room. Once you've got your CPU cooler installed, which you're going to have to install after you've put the or before you actually put the motherboard into the case, due to the fact that there's no CPU cutout, you're not going to be able to get that back in. So you either take it out and get that all set up ready to go, then put your motherboard in, or just leave it out completely. It'll give you a bit more room and probably a little bit easier to actually cable manage the whole thing. But apart from that, it's a very nice design, very solid in its construction. Like I said, unfortunately, I just don't have the right amount of gear to actually go and demonstrate too much to you. I haven't got the right power supply for a start. If I went to start to build a system into this, I'm going to have absolutely no airflow whatsoever. Motherboard goes in perfectly fine. You are limited to the type of coolers, and again, I don't have the right type of coolers to actually show you what it will look like, unfortunately, but there are other videos on the internet about this particular case. But I really like the design. I think it's a very, very solid case. It's just extremely well built. Suggestions from myself, as I said, CPU cutout window would be good to see. A filter down the side here for your graphics card is definitely a must. And also, one other sort of thought that I did have, obviously you have got the option, or ideally you'd have the option to install your SSDs along the top here. However, obviously that's limited to one position here. If you were to have the ability to move that, you know, a little bit further down, depending on your motherboard and also your CPU cooler, it might actually be a little bit beneficial. But also just basically the ability to install it in on this side, I think might make for a more attractive looking system and potentially make it a little bit easier for you to actually install your gear on the inside. But yeah, apart from that, it's a very solid case. I love the look of it. The red version of this, I think, looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah, there are, for a first mini ITX case from ID Cooling, I think they've done a great job with the build. Certainly the build quality, and obviously the fact it's all aluminium, for me, makes it stand out very nicely. It's a very nice design. Even if they just made it that little bit bigger, that little bit taller, a little bit wider, you can obviously fit a lot more hardware in there, bigger graphics card, etc. So if they were to bring out like something like a T70 or something like that, just to make it a little bit bigger, I think they would definitely be on the right track with that. So there we go, guys. That's the unboxing. There are my thoughts on the T60-SFX from ID Cooling. Hope you liked the video. There will be links down below to where you can actually go and purchase this case, find out availability of it, and also find out a bit more technical specification on the website NismoTech.com as well. But yeah, that's the case. Hope you liked the video. Please do leave a like and a comment down below, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video.